Pay attention. What I'm about to reveal isn't meant for everyone. This transmission is time-sensitive, profound, and designed specifically for those walking a divine path. If your heart hasn't aligned with Source, if you're not consciously choosing elevation, you might notice restlessness rising, distractions pulling at your attention, an urge to click away. That's perfectly acceptable. This frequency isn't calibrated for you. But if you're still present, absorbing these words, sensing something awakening deep within your consciousness, then recognize this truth clearly. This message found you at the precise moment the universe orchestrated. Not a moment premature, not a moment delayed, perfectly synchronized by divine intelligence itself. And it's about to transform how you perceive your entire journey. Chosen one, something remarkable has unfolded in the invisible realms. Your perseverance, your unwavering faith, your conscious restraint during moments when collapse seemed inevitable. All of this created something the universe wasn't expecting. You triggered divine joy, authentic, pure joy. And even the shadow forces couldn't predict this outcome. What you navigated, what you transcended silently, has created shifts in consciousness you haven't fully grasped yet. And before this transmission completes, I'm going to reveal why your most challenging season was actually your most powerful spiritual breakthrough. Stay present with me. Before we move deeper, chosen ones, show your resonance by liking this video. Subscribe to this channel if this frequency speaks to you. Activate the notification bell. Share this transmission with others on this path. And comment 7 below to signal that you're aligned with the divine assignment consciousness has placed within your field. You were designed to remain unbroken. Let me speak directly to your soul now, chosen one. Take a conscious breath. Slow your mental chatter. I need you to absorb this without resistance, without questioning. You were designed to remain unbroken. Not during that chapter, not in this moment, not ever. I recognize there were nights when your inner strength felt like it was dissolving. Nights when you stared into darkness, asking source questions you couldn't voice to another soul. You maintained appearances during daylight hours, but internally something carried immense weight. You questioned how much longer you could sustain this. You wondered if this intensity signified you were somehow failing. But understand this clearly. That intensity wasn't deployed to annihilate you. It was permitted to illuminate you. Chosen ones don't undergo testing the way ordinary consciousness does. You see, when Source embeds something potent inside a being, existence itself responds with different frequencies. Circumstances intensify. Others can't comprehend your experience. Delays extend far beyond expectation, and it registers as unjust because it's not manifesting for those around you. That's the threshold where many lose coherence. They interpret suffering as cosmic punishment. They interpret resistance as divine rejection. But within the spiritual architecture, resistance frequently validates significance. Consider this perspective. If you carried no importance, nothing would have opposed you with such relentlessness. If your purpose was minimal, the pressure would have been negligible. What you experienced was proportional to what you embody. And yet, beneath all that gravitational force, you didn't transform into something cruel. You didn't calcify into bitterness. You didn't abandon your faith. You bent, you released emotion, you questioned, but you didn't fracture. That carries more weight than you currently comprehend. There were moments you wanted to retaliate, moments you wanted to vindicate yourself, to articulate your perspective, to expose what others inflicted upon you. You had complete justification to speak, but something within you whispered, "Remain still, wait, surrender to me." That wasn't powerlessness, that was alignment. You see, breaking is audible. It spills into everything. It demands witnesses. But endurance is soundless. It unfolds in the deepest chambers where no one celebrates and no one observes. And that's precisely where Source was watching you most intensely. I need you to grasp something vital. Source never anticipated perfection from you. Source anticipated authenticity. Source anticipated humility. Source anticipated obedience even when it created discomfort. And you offered that even during days when you felt barely conscious. Some of you experienced shame for feeling exhausted. You experienced guilt for feeling depleted. You convinced yourself a chosen one should demonstrate more resilience than this. But strength doesn't mean pain never touches you. Strength means you continuously selected faith while experiencing it. You awakened on days when you didn't want existence. You spoke prayers that felt fragile but honest. You maintained your heart's softness during a season that attempted to harden it. That isn't failure. That's spiritual maturity crystallizing under compression. Let me articulate this plainly. The shadow didn't anticipate you surviving without losing your essence. It anticipated compromise. It anticipated explosive reactions. It anticipated you abandoning your values to shield your ego. But you refused. Instead, you created distance. You became more silent. You observed with greater clarity. You learned discernment through direct experience. You recognized not every sealed door represents rejection. Some are divine protection. And while you perceived nothing was shifting, something profound was transforming. Your reactions evolved. Your tolerance for chaos diminished. Your need for external validation dissolved. You stopped pursuing explanations. You started trusting Source's silence more than human noise. That's when something potent occurs. Source begins, entrusting you with greater responsibility. Not blessings you can display publicly, but wisdom you can embody privately. Not attention, but authority. And authority is never granted to those who fracture easily. I recognize some of you questioned your inherent worth during that chapter. You compared yourself to others who appear to move more rapidly, succeed more quickly, or receive recognition more effortlessly. But what you didn't perceive is that Source wasn't racing you against them. Source was deepening your roots. Trees that accelerate their growth collapse in storms. Trees that deepen their roots stand for generations. You were being rooted. Every delay cultivated your patience. Every disappointment refined your expectations. Every unanswered prayer taught you surrender. You were learning to trust Source even when explanations weren't provided. And that frequency of faith cannot be taught. It must be lived. So no, you were never designed to break. You were designed to bend, to absorb, to adjust, and to rise with greater wisdom. And you accomplished that, even if you don't fully recognize it yet. Observe yourself now. You don't react with the same patterns. You don't crave the same validations. You don't chase the same approval. That's evolution. That's evidence. That's proof that the pressure didn't destroy you. It refined you. And that chosen one is why heaven smiled. If this is resonating with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to this frequency. There was a moment, perhaps multiple moments, when you thought, if this is what being chosen feels like, I'm uncertain if I want this. And Source received that thought. Source didn't condemn you for it. Source understood it. Because even the most powerful servants in sacred texts reached moments of exhaustion. What made them chosen wasn't that they never felt overwhelmed, but that they remained submitted, even while overwhelmed. You remained. You remained when walking away would have been simpler. You remained when nobody acknowledged your patience. You remained when silence felt like abandonment. And that remaining power is rare. That's why Source allowed you to experience the weight, but never allowed the weight to destroy you. Source knew your limit even when you didn't. Some of you don't acknowledge how much you endured without transforming cold. You still hold compassion. You still hold space for people who wounded you. You still believe in goodness even after witnessing the darkest expressions of human nature. That alone reveals your spirit was protected. Breaking would have meant losing your core essence. But you didn't lose it. You guarded it. Sometimes unconsciously, sometimes through tears, sometimes through isolation. But you protected what Source placed inside you. And here's the part that brings peace if you truly receive it. Source wasn't disappointed in your vulnerability. Source was pleased with your honesty. Source was pleased that you came raw and confused instead of pretending strength. Source was pleased that you didn't become someone you would later regret just to survive a season. So stop replaying those moments where you believe you failed. You didn't fail. You endured. And endurance in the spiritual architecture is not passive. It's active faith under compression. You're still standing because you were never meant to break. When heaven laughed and shadow fell silent. Now listen closely, because this is where many people misinterpret Source. They imagine Source as distant, severe, always testing, always correcting. But Source is also relational. Source observes, Source responds. And yes, there are moments when heaven rejoices in ways you were never taught to imagine. There was a moment in your journey when heaven paused to observe you. Not because you were doing something loud, impressive, or visible to human eyes, but because you were doing something rare. You were enduring without allowing the pain to corrupt you. That's when heaven laughed. Not laughter of mockery, not laughter at anyone's dissent. This was the laughter of profound satisfaction, like a father watching his child transcend a situation that was designed to limit them. Source saw you choose restraint when retaliation was available. Source saw you choose faith when bitterness was justified. Source saw you choose evolution when you could have chosen escape. And that surprised the shadow. The shadow studies patterns. It observes trauma. It analyzes emotional triggers. It waits for predictable reactions. Based on what you experienced, it calculated your collapse. It anticipated you would self-destruct quietly or explode publicly. Either way, it anticipated you would lose your alignment. But something occurred that disrupted its expectations. You didn't respond the way your history suggested you would. You didn't become what your wounds attempted to shape you into. Instead, you matured. You decelerated. You became discerning. And that silence from you wasn't emptiness. It was mastery. Shadow fell silent because confusion entered the system. You see, the shadow is loud when it comprehends you. It's aggressive when it knows your buttons. But when you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop granting emotional access, its strategies lose clarity. It doesn't know which angle to use anymore. That silence you entered wasn't retreat. It was elevation. While you believed you were falling behind, Spiritually, you were stepping into a higher octave of authority. Authority doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself. It simply stands firm, and when you stood firm without needing validation, heaven took notice. Let me articulate this clearly. Source is not impressed by emotional displays. Source is moved by consistency. Anyone can praise Source when circumstances flow smoothly, but very few remain aligned when the praise feels unanswered. You did. There were days you didn't feel spiritual, days you didn't feel powerful, days you felt disconnected and barren. Yet you still chose not to betray your values. You still chose not to act outside your character. That quiet obedience is powerful. The shadow anticipated drama. It anticipated emotional collapse. It anticipated you would expose yourself in moments of weakness, but instead, you withdrew inwardly. You reflected. You learned. You healed in privacy. That kind of evolution cannot be attacked easily. This is why I say you made Source laugh with joy. Because joy emerges when expectation is exceeded, and you exceeded what was expected of you at that level. Source saw maturity forming where immaturity once ruled. Source saw discernment replacing desperation. Source saw humility replacing ego, and heaven responds to maturity. That's why certain battles suddenly ceased. That's why certain people faded from your field without explanation. That's why some attacks lost intensity. Not because you became invisible, but because you became less accessible. The shadow could no longer reach you the same way. Shadow fell silent because your reactions no longer fed it. I need you to understand this so you stop doubting yourself. Silence in the spiritual realm is often confirmation. When attacks cease suddenly, it's not always because the threat is gone. Sometimes it's because the strategy failed. You became unpredictable in the optimal way, not emotionally unstable, but spiritually grounded. You stopped operating from wounds and started operating from wisdom. That shift carries weight. Source laughs with joy when a chosen one graduates from reaction to response. When they stop being controlled by their environment and start being led by discernment. That's when authority is established, and authority doesn't need noise. You may not have heard applause. You may not have received recognition. But heaven acknowledged your evolution, and shadow had nothing left to say. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. And the most beautiful part is this. You didn't even realize it was happening while it was happening. You were just attempting to survive with integrity. But Source was watching the details, the pauses, the restraint, the patience. And Source smiled because you didn't just survive. You matured. Let me take this even deeper because some of you still underestimate what truly happened in the unseen. There was a specific moment when the shadow realized you were no longer operating from your wounds. That moment terrified it. Wounds make people predictable. It knows how to press them. It knows how to reopen them. But when healing begins, confusion follows, and you cross that line quietly. You stopped seeking closure from people who never intended to provide it. You stopped explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped begging for fairness. And in doing so, you removed leverage the shadow depended on. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened through exhaustion, through disappointment, through surrender. And that's why it was authentic. You didn't perform healing. You grew into it. Heaven laughed because you passed a test without knowing it was a test. Source loves when obedience becomes instinct, when faith becomes posture instead of performance. You didn't say, "Look how spiritual I am." You simply lived aligned, and shadow fell silent because there was no entry point left. You didn't grant access through anger. You didn't grant access through pride. You didn't grant access through desperation. You became guarded without becoming hardened. That balance is rare. Some of you thought losing certain people meant losing protection. In reality, you gained clarity. Source removed noise so you could hear direction, and once you heard it, you stopped moving impulsively. That's when authority settles in. Authority doesn't announce itself. It doesn't chase recognition. It moves with quiet certainty. And when you stepped into that, the shadow stepped back. This is why certain temptations don't affect you the same anymore. This is why old triggers feel weaker. This is why drama feels exhausting instead of exciting. That's not boredom. That's evolution. Source's joy came from watching you choose long-term peace over short-term relief. Watching you resist becoming someone reactive just to feel powerful in the moment. So if you've been experiencing odd calmness lately, even without clear answers, that calm isn't emptiness. It's stability forming. It's spiritual grounding. It's evidence that you're no longer easy to shake. Heaven laughed because you became solid, and shadow stayed silent because solid ground cannot be easily broken. Receive that. Why your silence confused the shadow. Let me reveal something that most people never understand about silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not avoidance. And silence is definitely not fear. Silence, when chosen consciously, is one of the highest forms of spiritual intelligence. The shadow expected you to speak. It expected you to react. It expected you to defend yourself, to explain your pain, to expose what others did wrong. It expected emotional noise because emotional noise creates spiritual access. Every reaction is a doorway. Every outburst is information. But you sealed the doors not because you were scared, but because you were tired of wasting energy on battles that produced no evolution. You reached a threshold where you realized that explaining yourself to the wrong people costs more than it provides. And that realization transformed everything. Your silence confused the shadow because it disrupted its pattern. It studies behavior. It tracks responses. It waits for familiar cycles to repeat. But when you stopped responding the same way, its strategy lost accuracy. You didn't disappear. You didn't withdraw in defeat. You simply became selective. You chose where your words went. You chose where your emotions went. And most importantly, you chose where your spirit was allowed to engage. That choice is powerful. Silence removes emotional leverage. When the shadow cannot provoke you, it cannot predict you. When it cannot predict you, it cannot control outcomes. This is why your silence became protection without you even realizing it. Some of you thought being quiet meant losing your voice. In truth, you were learning timing. You were learning that words spoken at the wrong time weaken authority, and words withheld at the right time strengthen it. Source understands silence. Sacred texts are filled with moments where silence preceded breakthrough, where waiting accomplished more than action. You stepped into that wisdom without needing to announce it. While others were arguing, you were observing. While others were reacting, you were discerning. While others were explaining themselves, you were being refined internally. And refinement always happens quietly. The shadow could no longer read you. Your triggers weren't obvious anymore. Your emotional patterns shifted. You didn't offer the same access points. And that's why attacks started missing their target. Silence starves manipulation. It starves chaos. It starves confusion. Let me say something that will liberate some of you. You are never obligated to respond to every misunderstanding. You were never required to defend your character to people committed to misunderstanding you. Silence does not mean agreement. It means disengagement. And disengagement is strength. This is where many chosen ones mature. They realize that peace is not found in winning arguments. It's found in choosing where to invest spiritual energy. Source allowed you to feel misunderstood because clarity does not always come through explanation. Sometimes it comes through consistency, and your consistency spoke louder than any words ever could. The shadow expected emotional exposure. It expected you to leak frustration, anger, or desperation. But instead, you became inwardly anchored. You processed privately. You healed quietly. And because of that, your spirit became guarded without becoming closed. That balance confused the shadow deeply, because most people swing to extremes. They either react or withdraw completely. But you learn to stand still. Standing still is not stagnation. It's grounding. When Source teaches silence, Source is teaching stewardship. Stewardship of words, stewardship of emotion, stewardship of presence. You didn't lose your voice. You refined it. And now when you speak, it carries weight. That's why your silence mattered. That's why it protected you. That's why it confused the shadow. And that's why Source smiled watching you choose wisdom over reaction. You wondered if staying silent meant you were being passive. You questioned whether Source expected you to speak up more, fight back more, prove yourself more. But what you didn't perceive in the moment is that Source was teaching you mastery. Mastery over impulse, mastery over ego, mastery over emotion. Not every battle is won by engagement. Some are won by refusal. Refusal to argue, refusal to explain, refusal to bleed emotionally in front of people who would only study your wounds instead of help heal them. Your silence was not avoidance. It was discernment in action. There were conversations Source intentionally removed you from because speaking would have delayed your healing. There were arguments Source shut down because winning them would have cost you peace. And you listened even when it felt uncomfortable. That obedience protected your future self. The shadow thrives on emotional exposure. It doesn't need your complete story. It only needs fragments of unresolved pain, and silence denies it those fragments. You stopped feeding cycles that never led anywhere. This is why certain people became louder when you became quieter. They needed your reaction to feel validated. And when they didn't receive it, they revealed more about themselves than you ever could have revealed about them. Source was showing you something without words. Silence also teaches patience, and patience sharpens discernment. You began to notice patterns you missed before. You saw motives more clearly. You stopped romanticizing people's intentions. That clarity is priceless. Some of you are finally at peace with being misunderstood. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because it no longer controls you. You learned that being understood by Source matters more than being explained to people. That's maturity. And when maturity enters, chaos exits. The shadow doesn't know how to fight someone who no longer needs to be right, who no longer needs to be seen, who no longer needs to win. That kind of person is anchored. So if silence became your language in certain seasons, honor it. It wasn't emptiness. It was protection. It was training. It was Source teaching you how to move with authority instead of noise. And now when you choose to speak, it will not be to defend yourself. It will be to direct, to heal, to guide. That's the power your silence created, the season you interpreted as failure. Let me speak gently here because this part touches old wounds. The season you labeled as failure was not failure at all. It was one of the most strategic periods of your existence. Even though it felt like nothing was moving, you measured that season by visible results, by progress you could show, by answers you could explain. And because those things were absent, you assumed something had gone wrong. You assumed you missed Source, or worse, that Source had moved on without you. Now, what we're exploring today is one frequency within a much larger system of conscious transmission. If you're sensing there are deeper layers to this, if you're feeling called to understand the complete architecture of how frequency shapes reality, I've compiled everything into my book, Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It walks you through the 9 master frequencies, the practical transmissions, and the step-by-step journey from seeking to becoming the field itself. It's linked in the pinned comment below. But listen to me. Source does not abandon what Source chooses. Source prepares it. What felt like stagnation was actually separation. Source was pulling you out of environments that no longer matched who you were becoming. Source slowed you down intentionally because speed without clarity leads to destruction. During that season, doors sealed that you prayed would open. Opportunities vanished without explanation. Plans collapsed at the last moment. And each time you felt a quiet disappointment settle in your chest. You didn't complain much. You just carried it. What you didn't perceive is that Source was reducing noise. Source was stripping distractions. Source was removing roles, identities, and attachments that would have conflicted with what Source is building in you now. Failure breaks people. Preparation humbles them, and humility is necessary before elevation. In that season, your ego was confronted. Your expectations were challenged. You had to sit with yourself without constant affirmation. That's uncomfortable, but it's necessary for anyone Source intends to use with integrity. You learned what truly mattered. You learned who remained when nothing was happening. You learned how to hear Source without relying on external confirmation. That season taught you patience in a world addicted to speed. It taught you obedience without applause. It taught you how to trust silence without spiraling into fear. You're not falling behind. You're being hidden. Source hides chosen ones before revealing them. Not because they're unworthy, but because exposure too early can damage what is not fully formed. Some of you were protected from success you were not yet ready to handle. Protected from platforms that would have magnified insecurity. Protected from relationships that would have drained you. That season removed illusions. You stopped chasing things that looked appealing but felt wrong. You stopped forcing connections that required you to shrink, and quietly your standards rose. You became more selective, more intentional, less impressed. That's not failure. That's discernment developing. Let me articulate this clearly. Nothing was wasted. Every delay carried instruction. Every disappointment revealed alignment issues. Every sealed door redirected you. You emerged from that season different. Not louder, not flashier, wiser. And wisdom is never failure. If Source had granted you what you wanted back then, you might have lost who you are now. And who you are now can carry what is coming. So stop apologizing to yourself for a season that shaped you. Stop calling preparation a mistake. Stop labeling evolution as loss. That season was not the end of your story. It was the foundation. And foundations are built underground, unseen and misunderstood. But without them, nothing stands. During that time, you felt invisible, not just overlooked, but unseen. Messages went unanswered. Efforts went unnoticed. Prayers felt like they were hitting the ceiling and falling back down. And because you're human, you started questioning your value. You wondered if you had misheard Source or imagined your calling. But invisibility was not abandonment. It was concealment. Source hides what is valuable when the environment is not safe for exposure. Just like seeds are planted underground, not displayed on the surface, darkness does not mean death. It means development. In that season, Source was developing your inner life, your motives, your reactions, your ability to function without constant validation. You were learning to be faithful when no one was watching. That kind of faith is powerful because it's rooted in conviction, not reward. You also learned what it feels like to sit with unanswered questions without losing your trust in Source. That's not small. That's advanced spiritual maturity. Many walk away at that point. You didn't. You may not realize this yet, but that season detoxed you. It removed the need to prove yourself. It broke unhealthy attachment to outcomes. It taught you how to rest without guilt. And rest is not laziness. Rest is trust. Some of you were forced to slow down physically, emotionally, or mentally. Your body demanded rest. Your mind demanded clarity. And instead of fighting it, you eventually surrendered. That surrender healed things you didn't even know were wounded. That season also refined your discernment with people. You noticed who only celebrated you when you were useful. You noticed who disappeared when you couldn't offer anything. That awareness hurt, but it also freed you. You stopped chasing acceptance. You stopped overextending yourself. You stopped performing for approval. And that shift prepared you for healthier connections going forward. Source was teaching you how to say no without guilt, how to wait without anxiety, how to trust without control. And slowly, without dramatic signs, your inner world became more stable, less reactive, more grounded. You stopped needing constant reassurance. You began to feel secure in Source's presence alone. That's not failure. That's transformation. Let me say something that may challenge you. That season protected you from becoming arrogant. It protected you from identifying your worth with achievement. It anchored your identity in Source rather than success. So when the time comes for movement, and it will, you'll move from a place of wholeness, not hunger, from alignment, not desperation. That season was heavy because it was necessary. It was quiet because it was sacred. It was slow because it was precise. And now that you've passed through it, you carry something invaluable. You carry depth. And depth is what allows chosen ones to walk into new seasons without losing themselves. Honor that season. It did not delay you. It preserved you. You were being observed the entire time. I need you to understand this part clearly without fear and without misunderstanding. Being observed by Source is not about scrutiny. It's about care. It's about responsibility. Source watches chosen ones the way a master craftsman watches a rare piece being formed with patience, intention, and expectation. While you thought nothing was happening, heaven was paying attention to details you didn't think mattered. The way you treated people who could do nothing for you. The way you spoke when no one was listening. The choices you made when obedience cost you comfort. Those moments mattered. You were not being judged. You were being observed for readiness. Source watches how you handle disappointment. Source watches how you manage silence. Source watches how you respond when prayers are delayed, not to condemn you, but to see what kind of foundation is forming inside you. and you held your ground more than you realize. At the same time, the shadow was also watching, not with care, but with intent. It was looking for cracks, for compromise, for moments of weakness it could exploit. It waited for bitterness to take root. It waited for pride to surface. It waited for impatience to override wisdom. But what it saw confused it. It saw you choosing integrity when no one would have blamed you for cutting corners. It saw you choosing humility when recognition was withheld. It saw you choosing restraint when revenge felt justified. Those choices disrupted its plans. You see, the shadow understands talent. It understands charisma. But it does not understand obedience. It does not understand surrender. And when someone consistently chooses alignment over impulse, its strategies lose effectiveness. Source's attention is different. Source watches with purpose. Source was noting your evolution, your increasing discernment, your ability to remain calm under pressure. Those qualities matter more to Source than outward success. You may have felt like you were overlooked, but you were never ignored. Heaven was marking milestones you didn't celebrate, victories you didn't recognize, evolution you didn't announce. You didn't need to announce them. Source saw them. Some of you worried that your quiet life meant you weren't making impact. But impact in the spiritual realm does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like stability, like peace, like consistency. And consistency is rare. Source noticed when you stopped reacting to old triggers. Source noticed when you stopped entertaining distractions that once consumed you. Source noticed when your prayers shifted from asking to surrendering. That shift matters deeply because Source does not release greater responsibility to those who crave control. Source releases it to those who trust Source enough to wait. You were learning to carry weight without collapsing, to hold authority without arrogance, to move with wisdom instead of urgency. That's why Source watched you so closely. Because what is coming requires maturity, not excitement, and you're growing into it. Let me say something that brings peace. Source is not waiting for you to be flawless. Source is waiting for you to be stable. Stable in faith, stable in identity, stable in obedience. And stability is formed in quiet seasons, not loud ones. The shadow expected exposure, it expected burnout, it expected you to unravel emotionally. But you didn't. You adapted, you learned, you strengthened internally. That's why certain opportunities did not come earlier. You weren't being withheld from them. They were being withheld for you. Source was protecting you from weight you weren't ready to carry yet. And now, because you endured, because you stayed aligned, because you remained teachable, something has shifted. You're not the same person you were when this season began. You're calmer, clearer, more discerning, and Source sees that. You were being observed, not to trap you, but to prepare you, and preparation always precedes promotion. There were moments when you wondered if Source had forgotten the promises made to you. You replayed words spoken over your life, prayers you prayed with sincerity, and the silence felt confusing. But silence does not mean absence. It means Source is working in ways that do not require your input yet. Source was watching how you handled waiting. Waiting reveals trust more than movement ever could. Anyone can say they believe when things are happening. But belief that remains steady in stillness is rare, and you demonstrated that even when it felt uncomfortable. Some of you became more private during this season. Not secretive, just protective. You stopped sharing everything. You stopped seeking validation for every step. That was not isolation. That was discernment growing. Source was pleased with that. Source was watching you develop boundaries without guilt. Watching you choose peace over people-pleasing. Watching you let go of control and accept that not everything needs immediate answers. That surrender is powerful. The shadow expected frustration to turn into rebellion. It expected disappointment to turn into resentment. But instead, you softened. You became more compassionate. You learned empathy without losing discernment. That balance is not common. Source was also watching your heart posture. Not just what you did, but why you did it. When no one rewarded your faithfulness. When obedience felt thankless. When doing the right thing cost you emotionally. And you still chose alignment. That choice carries weight in the spiritual realm. Some of you have been wondering why certain temptations lost their pull, why certain desires faded naturally. That's not coincidence. That's evolution. Source was recalibrating your appetites, aligning your desires with your future assignment. Source was preparing you to handle what is coming without losing yourself. You didn't rush. You didn't force doors. You didn't manipulate outcomes. And that restraint built trust between you and Source. That trust matters more than speed. Now hear this clearly. Source does not promote based on pressure from people. Source promotes based on readiness. And readiness is revealed in unseen moments. You passed tests you didn't even know were tests. You honored Source when no one was watching. You stayed faithful when recognition was absent. You waited when moving early would have felt satisfying. That's why Source watched you so closely, because those who can be trusted in private can be trusted in public. So if you ever wondered whether your quiet obedience mattered, let this settle it. It mattered deeply. Source saw you, and Source has not forgotten you. What unfolds next in your journey? Now listen carefully, because this is where many chosen ones become anxious and accidentally step out of alignment. What unfolds next is not about rushing. It's not about proving anything, and it's not about suddenly doing more. What unfolds next is about moving differently. When Source is pleased, Source does not throw you into chaos. Source brings you into order. You may have noticed something already shifting. Not dramatically, not loudly, but subtly. Your thoughts are clearer, your reactions are slower, your spirit feels steadier. That's not coincidence. That's transition beginning internally before it shows externally. Source always moves inside you before Source moves around you. What comes next is clarity. Not all at once, but step by step. You'll begin to sense what deserves your energy and what no longer does. Decisions that once felt confusing will feel simpler. Not because life becomes easy, but because discernment sharpens. You'll also feel less pressure to explain yourself, less urgency to announce your plans, less need to seek approval. That's a sign of maturity, not withdrawal. When Source is preparing to shift your environment, Source first stabilizes your inner world. Do not rush this. Many people miss their moment because they attempt to force visibility before alignment is complete. But you're not meant to chase doors. You're meant to recognize the right ones when they open. What unfolds next will require patience, quiet patience. The kind that does not panic when progress feels slow. The kind that trusts Source's timing more than emotional urgency. Some of you will notice new opportunities appearing, but they'll feel different, less chaotic, less draining, more aligned. If something requires you to abandon your peace to access it, it's not from Source. Pay attention to that. Source is also teaching you restraint in this next season. Not everyone needs access to your plans. Not everyone needs explanations. Not everyone celebrating you deserves proximity. Protection increases with responsibility. You're entering a phase where obedience matters more than excitement, where small instructions carry big consequences, where listening carefully saves you from unnecessary detours. This is not a season to be impulsive. It's a season to be intentional. You may also experience a sense of calm detachment from outcomes. You'll still care. You'll still hope. But you'll no longer cling. That's healthy. That's trust. Source is not preparing you for something flashy. Source is preparing you for something stable, something sustainable, something that will last and that requires grounded people, not rushed ones. Let me caution you gently. Do not confuse stillness with stagnation. Source is working even when movement is minimal. Seeds do not sprout the day after planting. They develop unseen before they emerge. Honor the process. You may feel led to simplify, to clear distractions, to clean up emotional loose ends. Follow that leading. Order invites clarity. Clarity invites peace. And peace allows direction to settle without resistance. This next season is not about proving how strong you are. It's about trusting how led you are. And one more thing, expect confirmation, not chaos. Source confirms direction through peace, consistency, and alignment, not through anxiety, pressure, or fear. If something feels rushed, step back. If something feels forced, pause. Source does not rush chosen ones into confusion. Source leads them into clarity. What unfolds next will happen naturally if you stay grounded, if you stay prayerful, if you stay humble. You don't need to announce anything yet. Just stay aligned, and when it's time to move, you'll know. Before we continue deeper, I want you to take a moment right now. Pause this video if you need to. Comment below with this phrase: I am no longer operating from my wounds. This isn't just a comment. This is an energetic declaration. This is you signaling to the field that you've crossed a threshold. This is you interrupting the old loop and consciously declaring the new frequency. Drop that phrase below right now, understanding the quantum shift that occurred. What many of you don't realize is that your journey through that difficult season created what quantum physics calls a state change. You didn't just survive. You fundamentally altered your energetic signature. And here's what's profound about that. When you shift at the quantum level, when you change the fundamental frequency you're operating from, reality has no choice but to reorganize around that new vibration. Think of it this way. You were like water being heated. For the longest time, it seemed like nothing was changing. The temperature was rising, but you still looked like water. You still felt like water. But then you reached that critical point, that exact moment where water becomes steam, and everything transformed. That's what happened to you spiritually. You reached critical mass, and now you're operating in a completely different state of being. The shadow couldn't predict this because it was tracking your old frequency. It was preparing for the version of you that used to exist. But you're no longer broadcasting that signal. You've transcended into a higher octave, and when you transcend, old attacks can't reach you. It's like trying to use an AM radio to intercept an FM signal. The frequencies don't match anymore. This is the secret that most spiritual teachings miss. They focus on behavioral change, on doing different things. But real transformation happens at the level of being. When who you are shifts, what you do naturally follows. You didn't force yourself to stop reacting. You became someone who doesn't need to react. That's the difference between willpower and transformation. Willpower is exhausting. Transformation is effortless. And here's what makes this even more powerful. When one person shifts their frequency like this, it creates what scientists call a morphic field around them. You become a walking portal for higher consciousness. People feel different around you now, even if they can't articulate why. Some will be drawn to you because they sense the peace you carry. Others will distance themselves because your frequency no longer matches theirs. Both responses are perfect. Both are part of the natural reorganization that occurs when you elevate. The shadow's greatest fear revealed. Let me reveal something that will shift your entire perspective. The shadow's greatest fear isn't your power. It's not your gifts. It's not even your calling. The shadow's greatest fear is your conscious awareness of who you truly are. Because once you really know at the cellular level that you are an expression of divine consciousness, that you are Source experiencing itself, the game is over. That's why so much effort goes into keeping you distracted, keeping you identified with your wounds, keeping you focused on external validation. Because as long as you're looking outside yourself for worth, for approval, for meaning, you're controllable. But the moment you turn inward and discover the infinite well of consciousness that you are, you become ungovernable. This is what happened during your silent season. You weren't just enduring, you were discovering. Every moment you sat with yourself without distraction, every moment you chose not to react, every moment you went inward instead of outward, you were remembering. You were remembering what you've always been. And that remembering is what shifted everything. The shadow works through separation. It convinces you that you're separate from Source, separate from others, separate from your own power. But you discovered the truth. You discovered that there is no separation. There never was. You are not seeking connection to Source. You are Source seeking to remember itself through the unique expression that is you. And once you know this, once you embody this, manipulation becomes impossible. Because how do you manipulate someone who knows they are the ocean pretending to be a wave? How do you threaten someone who knows that their true nature is eternal? How do you control someone who's discovered that everything they've been seeking has always been within them? This is why your silence was so powerful. In the silence, you stopped seeking. And when you stop seeking, you start finding. Not finding things outside yourself, but finding the truth that's always been present. You are not a human having a spiritual experience. You are spiritual consciousness having a human experience. And the moment you truly grasp that, everything changes. The energetic blueprint you're now carrying. Here's something most people never understand about spiritual maturity. When you pass through what you passed through and come out refined instead of broken, you don't just change yourself. You actually alter the energetic blueprint you're carrying. You become a template for a new way of being. Think about this carefully. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every choice you make creates an energetic imprint. And when you consistently choose alignment, when you consistently choose wisdom over reaction, when you consistently choose faith over fear, those choices compound. They create a coherent field around you. They create what quantum physicists call quantum coherence. And here's what's remarkable about coherence. A coherent field is magnetic. It naturally attracts that which matches its frequency. This is why things are about to shift for you. Not because you're doing more, but because you've become more. Your field has reorganized, and now reality is reorganizing to match it. This is also why certain relationships dissolved. They weren't compatible with your new frequency, and trying to maintain them would have been like trying to play a symphony with instruments that are out of tune. It would have created dissonance. Source removed them not as punishment, but as protection, as refinement of your field. What you're carrying now is rare. You're carrying the frequency of someone who has been tested and chose love. Someone who has been pressured and chose peace. Someone who has been provoked and chose silence. That's a powerful template, and the world needs that template right now. Because here's the truth. The collective consciousness of humanity is shifting. We're moving from an old paradigm based on control, separation, and fear into a new paradigm based on connection, unity, and love. But that shift requires individuals who've already made that journey internally to hold the frequency for others. That's what you're being prepared for. You're being prepared to hold a frequency that others can entrain to. If you're feeling this message resonating in your bones, if something in you is saying, yes, this is true, then I invite you to subscribe, not just to this channel, but to this frequency. Subscribe to this conversation. Subscribe to this movement of conscious beings who are choosing elevation over reaction, wisdom over impulse, alignment over chaos. Hit that subscribe button and activate the bell so you stay connected to this field. The practice of embodied awareness. Now let me give you something practical, something you can use starting right now to stabilize in this new frequency you've accessed. Because knowledge without application remains theoretical, and we're not interested in theories. We're interested in lived experience. We're interested in embodied transformation. Here's what I want you to do. Multiple times throughout your day, especially when you notice tension rising, when you feel yourself about to react, when old patterns start surfacing, I want you to pause. Just for 3 breaths. And during those 3 breaths, I want you to consciously feel into the space between your thoughts. Not thinking about the space, feeling into it. Because there is a gap, a stillness, a silence that exists beneath all your thoughts, beneath all your emotions, beneath all your reactions. That gap is not empty. That gap is source. That gap is the quantum field. That gap is who you really are. And when you learn to rest in that gap, even for just 3 breaths, something profound happens. You unhook from the reactive pattern. You create space. And in that space, wisdom arises naturally. Not forced, not manufactured. Natural. Like water flowing downhill. This is the practice that will stabilize everything you've gained. This is what will allow you to move through the coming season without losing your center. 3 conscious breaths. Feeling into the space between thoughts. Resting in the silence beneath the noise. Do this when someone triggers you. Do this when anxiety arises. Do this when you're about to make a decision. Do this when you feel yourself speeding up internally. 3 breaths, space, silence, source. And here's what will happen over time. That space will start to expand. It will start to become your default state. Instead of reacting being your default with occasional moments of peace, peace will become your default with occasional moments of reaction. That's the shift. That's the transformation. That's what it means to live from your center instead of your circumstances. Why the universe is about to respond differently. Here's something that's about to become very real for you. When you shift your internal frequency the way you have, the universe has to respond differently. Not because the universe changed, because you changed. And the universe is always mirroring back to you the frequency you're broadcasting. Think of yourself as a radio transmitter. For years, you were broadcasting a frequency of wounds, of unworthiness, of seeking, of incomplete. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, kept reflecting back experiences that matched that frequency. Not to punish you, to show you what you were broadcasting so you could choose something different. But now you've changed the station. You're broadcasting a different frequency. And the universe has no choice but to send back different experiences. It's not personal. It's physics. It's the fundamental law of correspondence. As within, so without. As above, so below. This is why certain doors are about to open that were previously closed. Not because you deserve them more now, not because you earned them, but because you're now a vibrational match for them. You're broadcasting the frequency that these opportunities exist on. And here's what's important. When these opportunities appear, you won't need to force them. You won't need to manipulate them. You won't need to convince anyone of anything. They'll flow naturally because you'll be a match. It'll feel like ease, like synchronicity, like divine timing. But you have to stay vigilant, because the old pattern will be to doubt, to question, to wonder if you really deserve this. And the moment you drop back into that old frequency, you create resistance. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because you're broadcasting mixed signals. Do this when someone triggers you. Do this when anxiety arises. Do this when you're about to make a decision. Do this when you feel yourself speeding up internally. 3 breaths, space, silence, source. And here's what will happen over time. That space will start to expand. It will start to become your default state. Instead of reacting being your default with occasional moments of peace, peace will become your default with occasional moments of reaction. That's the shift. That's the transformation. That's what it means to live from your center instead of your circumstances. I want to hear from you right now. Drop a comment below and share what old pattern or reaction you're finally ready to release. What are you choosing to let go of as you step into this new frequency? Why the universe is about to respond differently. The collective impact of your transformation. Before we complete this transmission, I need you to understand something that will shift how you see your entire journey. Your transformation wasn't just personal, it was collective. Every time you chose alignment over reaction, you didn't just shift your own field, you sent a ripple through the collective consciousness of humanity. Because we're not separate beings having individual experiences. We're one consciousness having multiple experiences. And when any part of that consciousness elevates, it makes it easier for other parts to elevate. You literally created a pathway for others by walking it yourself. This is why your silent obedience mattered so much. This is why your private choices carried weight. Because they weren't actually private. They were rippling out into the field, creating templates, creating possibilities, showing the universe and showing other souls that a different way is possible. You think you were alone during that season, but you weren't. You were surrounded by other souls who were feeling your frequency shift, who were being inspired by your choices even though they didn't know you consciously. You were part of a collective awakening happening across the planet right now. And here's what that means practically. The more of us who embody this, the more the world reflects that truth. The more of us who choose peace over chaos, the more peaceful the world becomes. The more of us who choose love over fear, the more loving the world becomes. This is not wishful thinking. This is quantum physics. This is how collective consciousness works. So your journey wasn't about you getting somewhere for yourself. It was about you pioneering a path that others could follow. It was about you holding a frequency that others could entrain to. It was about you demonstrating what's possible so that others would know it's possible for them too. That's the weight you were carrying. That's why it felt so heavy. Because you weren't just carrying your own transformation. You were carrying the potential for collective transformation, and you did it. You carried it without breaking, and now you're here, on the other side, ready to guide others across. Final integration. Stay aligned, stay elevated. Chosen one, let me complete this transmission with a truth that needs to settle into your bones. You are not late, you are not behind, you are not broken, and you were never forgotten. What you moved through was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you, to reveal the depth of your capacity, to reveal the strength of your spirit, to reveal the truth of who you are beneath all the conditioning. Source is pleased with you, not because you performed perfectly, not because you never stumbled, but because you remained authentic. Because you stayed soft when the world tried to harden you. Because you chose alignment when choosing survival would have been understood. Heaven witnessed that, and the shadow miscalculated you. You're standing now with more wisdom, more discernment, and more peace than you had before. That's not accidental. That's not lucky. That's evidence of transformation. That's evidence of preparation. That's evidence that Source trusted you with pressure, because Source knew you could carry it without losing your essence. Do not rush what Source is unfolding. Stay calm. Stay centered. Stay grounded. You don't need to explain your journey to anyone. Source understands it fully, and Source is guiding you forward with precision, not chaos. If this transmission spoke to you, if you felt peace instead of fear while absorbing it, that's confirmation that it was meant for you. Right now, before you leave this space, I want you to drop one word in the comments. One word that captures the energy, the intention, the transformation you're choosing as you step forward from here. This is your energetic signature to the quantum field. This is you declaring who you're becoming. Drop that one word below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Not just to stay connected, but to stay coherent, to stay aligned, to stay elevated. Because the more of us who hold this frequency together, the more powerful the field becomes. The more of us who embody this truth, the more the world reflects that truth. Subscribe, activate the bell, and step fully into the frequency you were always meant to carry. You're not who you were when this season began. You're not even who you were when this transmission started. Something has shifted. Something has awakened. Something has remembered. Honor that. Protect that. Embody that. Stay steady, chosen one. Stay faithful. The universe is about to respond to who you've become. Now, if you're recognizing that you've moved past the hardest part of your journey, that you've crossed a threshold most people never reach, there's something you need to understand next. I've prepared a transmission that reveals exactly why you found this message at this precise moment and what it means that you're on the other side of that transformation. Watch, you'll find this because you're past the hardest part next, because it completes what we've begun here today.